Hi YouTube, welcome to another edition of Horror Hands, and the last couple of videos I've done have been on Video Nasties, Section 3 Video Nasties, so I thought it would be cool to kind of end this subject by going over 5 horror films that I think could have been Video Nasties. They have all the hallmarks and things that could have got themselves on the list, but for whatever reason they weren't, so I'll just talk about each of them and why I think they could have made it there. So, first up, first film on this list of movies that could have been a Video Nasty is City of the Living Dead from Lucio Fulci. And when you look at his movies, he had a handful of films that came out in the late 70s and early 80s, and they all made it onto the Video Nasties list. So Zombie Flesh Eaters, The Beyond, and Half by the Cemetery. And right in the middle of all of them is City of the Living Dead. And this movie is no less gory and violent than what those movies were. It's just as high on that bar as what the previous films were. But for some reason, this one didn't get picked up and didn't get put on the list like those 3 movies. And from what I can see, it doesn't sort of differentiate itself in any much of a less gory or offensive to the authorities way. But yeah, for whatever reason, they skipped over City of the Living Dead and left this one completely alone. But great movie. This is one of my favourite Lucio Fulci films. I know some people find this one a bit baffling in terms of its plot, but I've always absolutely loved this film. So yeah, glad the censors didn't get a hold of this one in a way. But yeah, that's the first movie, City of the Living Dead. Okay, next up is The Deadly Spawn, one of my favourite horror films ever, one of my favourite creature feature movies, and I'm always a bit puzzled as to why any of the monster movies made the Video Nasties list. Most of them are on Section 3, but they didn't really have any kind of imitable violence or people killing each other with kitchen implements or things like that. So I never quite understand why they're so against monster movies. But I think The Deadly Spawn is definitely the one that could have made the list purely because of the gore effects in this one. This is such a gory movie. I absolutely love it. The Deadly Spawn gets lots of screen time, and it's right up there, up close to the camera with its teeth and blood everywhere and faces being ripped off. Lots of things in this that would have upset the censors. I imagine this one probably just missed the window of being kind of a Video Nasty. After sort of 82, they were pretty much done with that kind of thing. So I think The Deadly Spawn would have just missed out. I think this was like 83, 84. So yeah, this one sort of avoided that kind of scrutiny. But yeah, I can definitely see The Deadly Spawn being put on that list just because of, as I say, the really strong gore that's in this movie. But if you haven't seen The Deadly Spawn and you like monster movies or gore films, oh my goodness, it's a must-see. It's absolutely awesome. I could talk about that film all day long. But yeah, The Deadly Spawn. Okay, next up, number 3 on this list of films that could have been Video Nasty is Mundo Kane, or Mundo Kane, however you wish to say it, which is sort of like a precursor to Faces of Death. It's sort of a documentary by 2 Italian filmmakers, and it goes all over the world and shows a bunch of kind of strange practices, violence and things like that, but it's all sort of real violence and death. So absolutely this would have been a bit of a hot potato if this was doing the rounds during the Video Nasties era. I'm not sure if the UK actually got this during that time, which is why it probably didn't find itself on the list. If it did, I think this was very obscure and underground. It wouldn't have been the sort of mainstream hit that Faces of Death was. So this, if it was around, I think it very much would have gone under the radar, which is why this one wasn't on there. Very early as well for a video nasty. This is 1962. So again, I don't think this would have been in their on their focus, because it would have been around for a long time anyway, when it came to the early 80s. But yeah, it certainly has the real life violence and unpleasant things in it to meet the criteria of a video nasty, I would say. So yeah, easily could have been on the list if they'd have got their censoring hands on it. So that's that one. The next up is one of my favourite slashers of all time, and that is the Mutilator. So similar to the Deadly Spawn, I think this was 84, so this one would have slightly missed the window of scrutiny by the authorities and the British government. But if it hadn't, I think this would have been an absolute shoo-in for the video nasties list, because this one is about a killer whose entire itinerary is tools and weapons of like the hunting variety, and axes and things that he has around the house. So absolutely the kind of massive no-no that the BBFC and the British censors were against. They didn't like any kind of household tools or implements, and this guy's got them all, and it's got quite a few deaths in, and it's pretty gory, quite inventive in that respect as well. So I think this absolutely would have found itself on the list. Quite a suggestive title as well, The Mutilator. Doesn't leave anything to the imagination. So yeah, I think if this one would have come out a couple of years before it did, this would have been an absolute video nasty. And then the last movie on the list of horror films that could have been video nasties, in my opinion, is Videodrome, which is not, I don't think of this movie and think video nasty, but a couple of David Cronenberg's movies did find their way onto Section 3, so Rabid and Scanners. So they did face that kind of scrutiny, and Videodrome, it focuses on sort of violence and bodily horror around sort of video cassettes and domestic TV and things like that. So I'm surprised that the censors didn't get freaked out by this horror that was centred around the very technology that was releasing all these horrible, corruptible films. I'm surprised they didn't get on this one and take it off the shelves for sort of being in that whole vicinity anyway. But no, they let this one go, and this one did not become a video nasty. So yeah, that's just 5 films that I think could have made it onto the list. Let me know what you think about that, guys. Do you agree with any of these? Or is there any other films that you think should or could have definitely been video nasties? It'll be really interesting to hear what you come up with. So thank you very much for watching, and stay tuned for more videos.